All right, Jimmy, take it away.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee Chat Live with the Kevin Clune, as was just mentioned in our chat. So happy to be here, Kevin. So happy to have you on. We are live streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn. We have some people here on the chat as well in the live Zoom. Not on Facebook this week. We had a brief interruption. The Scout former Facebook page is merged with the Barracuda page. So we will be back hopefully next week with that all sorted out. So our Facebook watchers, apologies if you're watching now on YouTube or whatever. But Kevin, I'm sure you know the deal, but I'll just re-explain it to you in case you don't. This is the anti-webinar. This is the 15-minute quick chat. We have our coffee. We enjoy our morning. And sometimes we talk about MSP security or MSP stuff. And sometimes we talk about road salts or whatever you guys were talking about beforehand. So I see
we were comparing solids versus liquids on a state-by-state basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself for those who may not know you and maybe talk a little bit about what you've been working on, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'll just give it very brief. So I was an MSP. After exiting an MSP, started a blog, MSP Growth Hacks. Fast forward, we just launched a platform, MSP Spark. It's got a lot of cool features. It's sort of a social network, sort of a peer group alternative, sort of like a giant bank of marketing ideas. So a lot of cool stuff in there. A lot of MSP marketers and founders is pretty much, and it's actually, to be honest, it's like a 50-50 split. So it's a very marketing heavy community. And so we have some very different conversations, as you can imagine, than like a generic, kind of MSP forum.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love the content you put out as always. I think that there's like, we see so much like about MSP marketing and like, I try to set the standard pretty high at Scout, and I think we do an okay job. You definitely do a great job. And I've seen your blogs and read them before, and you're spot on with, your takes on things. And I'm fortunate to know you and to have you on. And also, you're a fellow Sixers fan, so yeah. That's great. Funny story here. Oh yeah, David's shrugging in the background. Hey, you had your championship. But yeah, so funny story. I think we were doing a live show with Ninja RMN, one of their talk series. And it's during like the playoffs, right? It was like a playoff game.
We're in the green room, right?
Yeah, and I have like my phone like this, like reading the scores coming in, and Kevin and I realized that we're rooting for the same teams here.
Yeah, it was trade alert. I think it was the trade deadline actually.
Oh, it was the trade deadline. Yeah. That's what it was. So they're all making moves in the last hour of the trade deadline, and then we're on this hour live stream, and you really can't like focus on other things.
And we got our South Jersey group chats blowing up at the same time.
yeah, my phone's like shaking all the way. Oh my God, it was funny. But since then it's like, okay, sports, MSP marketing, we found out we grew up in the same area, like a town away from each other. Small world here. But it's a pleasure to have you on. And we've got a good crew today too. John, Harold, David, Lloyd is somewhere in floating over the San Francisco Bay. So that's awesome. Kevin, can you talk to me a little bit about like why you like why you created Spark in addition to or to complement your MSP Growth Hacks blog?
Yeah, so this was kind of a windy road. There was a lot of areas that we could have gone. So we started, when immediately leaving an MSP, we had like a ton of valuable kind of information, like things that we learned. And the best place to put that was in a blog, right? And so we were like, let's build an audience. And then along the way, we'll figure out.
Excellent name, by the way. Like the name right is key, and you nailed it.
Yeah. And then we wanted to see like, what does the market actually need? So that kind of took us in a lot of different directions. obviously this was like a 2-year process to launch MSP Spark. During that time, I was doing consulting. So just sort of like some light, weekly meeting sort of coaching contracts to, just pay some bills and keep things going. But that was never the goal. Like we wanted to kind of have some sort of like more scalable offering so we could help more people. And so we tested a subscription model, which we called MSP Spark. And that was like right during the pandemic. We were like, what is the least amount of service we could give? Not because we want to give a very low value offering, but like we wanted it to be as inexpensive as possible. So like we tested this $10 a month subscription to 10 marketing ideas a week for MSPs. And so that got traction. But obviously the $10 price point is just not scalable to the point where we needed it to have it to be like a real business, right? So so that's when we started working on MSP Spark. We knew we were going to pull all of the ideas we've ever created into the platform. So that was sort of like the transition. And then there were a lot of things that we think are kind of broken with the traditional peer group model in our industry. One of which is like, there's a hierarchy of ideas. There's like, not all ideas are equal. So you get some people that are in peer groups that like, everyone kind of favors their opinion over others. You also have a very expensive price point. It's like $500 to $1,000 a month sometimes. And you also have this really slow like conversation model, right? So like you have people talking to each other and it's a closed group. And so that's awesome for relationship building, but it's not really great for like kind of more faster return of problem processing. So that's what we do with the brainstorms is we actually have like a model where within the community, we identify a problem, we collect as many ideas as we can, and we actually process it. And then we produce like a deliverable, which is a deck to basically deliver the answer to that problem after it goes through the process. And people can do this 5 minutes at a time without having any conversation. And so, and it's obviously a very low price point. Like our lowest is $29 a month for the membership. So it's like, they're getting the value, it's there when they need it, but they're not overpaying for this meeting that is like constantly on their calendar that they wish they didn't have to attend. So that's kind of what led us in that direction. And this is just a starting point. Like we're continuing to build features. We've got stuff in the pipeline already that we're working on. And so that's it. I mean, we had to start somewhere. And so we started here, and now wherever it takes us, I think the community will decide that,
Yeah, that's interesting about like your comments about COVID sort of changing. Well, how do you think things have changed with peer groups in general or like big meetups? Because like, I participated in some during like COVID times when they're all remote and it wasn't the same at all. Like it really was different. And I wonder like how much it's affected, like how much do you think it's affected or changed moving forward now that people know that they have these other options where, you can do things remote, you can do things asynchronously, you can have, consumable things at your leisure versus, going and being very in-person focused and, all the time it costs to go there, which we value more now after the pandemic, right? Like we all realize how much time it takes to travel somewhere. Do you think it's changed? Do you think these things complement each other? What do you think?
The Zoom fatigue is like a very real thing. I feel it. I think a lot of people feel it. Every kind of format, it just feels like it's all meshing together into like this, essentially what we're doing right now. And so that's why we kind of broke it up into 3 steps, and there's like value delivery mediums that are different in each one. So like in the first brainstorming part, we use a tool called Mural. And so it's people jump in, they've got sticky notes and they can add to our board. And so it's very interactive. And when they're in there, they can see other members that are in there. And so then we move it to a session. The session is sort of like the live meeting, but it's very down to business of like, we have a workflow, it's all visual. There's really not a lot of conversation. It's just facilitated and we move through the process. And then the final is like the deliverable of the PDF deck that they get that summarizes the problem. It's like an executive summary. So you can get value from it without even attending or participating in the first two, which is important because like people don't have enough, time is our most valuable resource. So like, how can you have a peer group where people don't have to spend time? And that's really the way we approached it.
Great. It's great. And I think it's, much needed thing now, the way that the world's changing. And, I don't want to get into that tangent because that's, we talked about that enough. But maybe go around a little bit. Or Kevin, why don't you kick us off? Do you like have any holiday plans or traditions that you like to do? Like what do you have going on for the end of December here?
So actually, yeah. So every year we do like a little thing with like no kids and like my brother and my sister-in-law and my parents. We used to go to Cape May, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So that we have that upcoming this weekend where we're doing it like a little more local this year, but it's like the adult sort of like, we used to call it Cape May Day, but now it just doesn't have a name yet. So that I got that coming up actually tomorrow, so that'll be fun. Like that's a thing that we kind of circle on the calendar every year.
That's great.
So yeah.
And Harold, are you flying in Delta One right now? Is that what that is?
I'm not, but yeah, when you're talking about plans, my wife and I were looking this morning at booking some tickets for the Rose Bowl because Utah's going to be there.
Oh, that's great.
$1,400 round trip, probably not going to happen. So we'll invite family over and watch it at the house.
I'll tell you what, though, Penn State was in the Rose Bowl, and I did not go, and I regret it all the time that I didn't go. So,
yeah, get that back, nodding her head.
yeah. John, what do you have any plans with the kids?
Really, since having kids and since they're still very young, we don't really go anywhere or do anything. But that's the nice thing. Once you have kids, grandparents come to you. You don't have to do them anymore. No more traveling to my parents, her parents. No, they can come to us. Thank you.
David, what about you? I just feel like you have the holiday spirit within you. I don't know.
Me?
I was saying David.
David.
You do too, John. You do too.
I used to be a Scrooge around this time, but now that I have a just over 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, my wife is shocked. I threw on like Christmas music recently and a Christmas movie, which like I don't even know who I am anymore. Like it's weird. And it's weird. We're just gonna be doing the normal. We go over to my family's on Christmas Eve at a nice suburb, just like 18 minutes away. So nothing too crazy. We're sticking to the usual. Fortunately, my grandparents are still around and willing to host. So yeah, we get everyone going over there.
That's great. And Harold, I love the hat, by the way, the addition. Lloyd, I see you floating in the sky in one frame, and then we've got a live video of you too in another. How are you doing? You have any plans coming up?
Yeah, I have a dual personality. That's why.
We know that.
Some people call it schizophrenic, but I don't believe that. Yes, I do. No. Okay. So last weekend, I was going to take the plunge. Okay.
Polar plunge?
Off the landmark tower with Brian Cashman. Okay. That was my Christmas thing. See, I already celebrated Hanukkah, so there's nothing to look forward to except for New Year's. But I'll play along with the rest of you guys. And, I wish everybody best of holiday cheer and everything like that. And hopefully 2022 will be a much better year.
Well, thank you, Lloyd. That was wonderful. Wonderful, kind words for everyone, and a great way to close this out. But Kevin, do you have any closing words? We're at the 15-minute mark. We try to keep it short. We can't get too much into the Zoom fatigue. We've hit our limit. Any closing thoughts for the audience before we go?
No, if anybody wants to check out like the content we just put out, we actually have an ad running with Jimmy's face, which is hilarious. The video that he put out, we turn into that. But we have a deck that was a series that we did. It's called Think Like an SMB. And so mspgrowthhacks.com/think like it, or mspgrowthhacks.com/think. I actually shortened it. And it's no opt-in required. So you can just like check it out. It's pretty cool.
It's great. And by the way, I can't believe we didn't get to talk about that, but like I put up this video of his new stuff because I thought it was super cool. And then like he messaged me real quick. He's like, hey, this is cool. You know, I've been wanting to try out this type of ad. You know, you mind if I do it? No, sure, go ahead. 5 minutes later, David has it on his feed and it's like, wow, I love
was
that.
epic.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that. It was promoted and your face was like, what's going on here?
No, that's how the magic happens sometimes.
And I know exactly what campaign that was because he commented. It was actually us targeting linked specific MSP LinkedIn groups on, you know, obviously a LinkedIn ad. So super cool, like to just see that, you know.
Well, and Kevin,
that's why marketing
60% of the time,
yeah,
it works 100% of the time.
Yeah. Great banter, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right, guys.
Thank you, Kevin, and take care, everyone. Have a safe and great weekend. I know a lot of people have family in town, things like that. So hope everyone enjoy it.